This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in pathology, naturopathic doctor. This program is for education. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Daily with Doc and Becca. I am your host and producer, Becca Dukes, and today is one of my favorite days of the week because it's Pharmacist Friday. And let me tell you, today we came prepared with questions that are sent in to us via email. I want to say hello and welcome to our live audience, as many of them are here each and every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific, 1 to 2 Mountain, 2 to 3 Central, 3 to 4 Eastern. And folks, if you're in another time zone, just use your favorite browser search engine to ask what time it is, 3 Eastern in your time zone. So welcome, everybody. This program is being sponsored by Daily with Doc and Becca, dailywithdoc.com. And if you were invited by somebody specific, please get back with them and tell them thank you. Thank you for taking the time to share this information with you. Now, today we are loaded with questions from our incredible community, questions about medications, nutrients, interactions, symptoms, side effects, what's normal, what's not, and things nobody seems to explain in those short, understandable answers like Pharmacist Ben does. Now, short, not always, but that's okay, because when he's done talking, we understand. So folks, if you were not invited by somebody specific and you would like to speak with a certified holistic health coach, I do have a team standing by for those not already working with somebody. You can reach them at 855-949-3377. So Pharmacist Ben, he's amazing. he's been practicing, well, he's been in pharmacy quite a while. And because he looked more at the nutritional side of things, yeah, he got canned from one of his pharmaceutical jobs. And I'm so glad that he did, because, you know, whenever we have free thinkers, people that think outside of the box, especially if that's a chemical box, and looking more at the nutraceutical side, the body just seems to function better, Pharmacist Ben. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. We have to, exactly what you're saying is we have to think outside the box. But the irony is that we're outside the box. We should be the box. Outside the box should be the poisons and the surgeries and the extractions and the x-rays and the ablations and the electrocutions and all that, you know, the strategies and the accoutrements and the devices that the medical model uses to make us better, which of course doesn't do. And so we got positioned as the outside the box. We should be the box. You know, for eons, millennia, millions, billions of years, there were no doctors. We ate berries, we foraged, and we didn't have diabetes, and we weren't obese, and we didn't have heart disease. You know, we had other things. We had traumas and infections, of course, and that's really where the medical model excels, and it has to get credit for that. But aside from traumas and infections, we are the answer to the chronic degenerative disease crisis that people all over the world face, not the medical model. And if you deal with a chronic degenerative disease symptom or issue or challenge, whether it's vertigo or psoriasis or heart disease or dysglycemia or whatever it is, the solution is not medical. And the most important challenge, or the hardest challenge, we'll say, is mental, because we don't trust ourselves. We automatically think somebody knows better about our bodies than we do. I always get a kick out of allergy testing. That always cracks me up when somebody wants to get allergy testing. It's like we are so disassociated from our bodies and how our body responds to milk or peas or eggs or whatever, that we're willing to let somebody take our blood out of our body and go over to another room and take our blood and put it into a dish and then put a little milk or a little egg or a little soy in the dish. And then we're in the other room saying, hey, over there, what's it say about my body? You know, that's basically what an allergy test is. And that's the classic example of how disassociated we are from our bodies and from our symptoms, and ultimately from the ways that we can recalibrate our biochemistry, even given the fact that the body is an automatically recalibrating system and homeostatically adjusts without us even having to think about it. So we got to start to, while it's true that obviously the medical model cannot handle the kinds of issues and challenges that it's being confronted with, the real problem is mental. We got to believe in ourselves, and we got to trust ourselves. And that's why, and I've said it before, but I asked Dr. Wallach one time why he called the company American Longevity. And that before it was longevity, it was American Longevity. And he said, I love the idea of longevity, health, and I love the idea of America. You can do it yourself. And, you know, that's the meme anyway. That's the story about the United States, is that you can pick yourself up by your bootstraps and you can do it yourself. And you don't need to have somebody be your authority. No kings. You know, there's this no kings thing now, and it's political, right. But really no kings. There's an application to the idea of no kings in terms of health as well as in politics. No kings. We're our own health authorities, authors. We write our own health, potentially. Now, if you give up, you abdicate, you give up responsibility, then you get what you get. And personally, I wouldn't do it. That's not my recommendation. That's why we're all here.
Okay, so there's a couple things that I wanted to point out. One, you have a medical condition and the solution is not medical.
No, you don't have a medical condition. You have a lifestyle condition. Medical conditions are breaking your leg or getting an infection. Those are medical conditions. The vast majority of our health challenges, which are heart disease, dysglycemia, neurological issues, autoimmunity, digestive, etc., those they're framed medically by the medical world because that's how they get their power and they get their money, but they're not really medical. They're lifestyle. You can change your digestive, you can change your Crohn's disease by not eating. You can change your dysglycemia by changing the kinds of foods you put in your mouth. You can change your neurological conditions by oxygenation, and unless there's some kind of degeneration, by oxygenation, by exercise, by meditating, by slow, deep breathing. That's how we want to look at this. And that's why I say it's mental. It's a perspective. We want to change the perspective of our health issues from being something that you have to go outside of yourself. And I don't say we have to. We have the opportunity to. You do whatever you want to do. But we have the opportunity to take these conditions that are apparently and ostensibly only a doctor can fix you and take them back into our control, because it doesn't work. I mean, I'm not just saying this just to say it. It doesn't work. How many people out there have gotten relief from their psoriasis or their heart disease or whatever it is by taking a drug? Now, keep in mind, you can get apparent relief. You can take a beta blocker and your blood pressure will drop. That is true. But that ignores the fact that the body is a network. It's a web. You know what the butterfly effect is? You ever hear the term the butterfly effect? A butterfly flaps its wings in South America and somebody catches a cold in China, because everything is linked. We didn't know everything was linked when the medical model started. And it behooves us to understand a little bit of the history. The medical model started, it was miraculous, because before the medical model started in the Middle Ages and the High Middle Ages and the Enlightenment in like the 1400s and 1500s, they didn't even know how the blood circulated. They thought disease was caused by the number 9. No lie. That was what they thought. At least some people thought the disease was caused by. I read a book on medieval medicine a long time ago. 3 causes of disease was the number 9, evil clouds, and little elves that shot arrows at you. That's what they really thought disease was caused by. So obviously, when the medical model came and said, no, there are causes and there's diagnoses and there's names and there's different organs and they're all, there's ways that you can control these things, that was considered a miracle. But in 1940, 500 years after the medical model started or thereabouts, systems theory began. Systems theory was actually a branch of physics that was started for people to be able to understand how systems work, this idea of systems. The body's a system, and one of the hallmark signs of a system is everything's connected. You can't isolate the heart, and you can't isolate the pancreas, and you can't isolate the brain. They're linked. The brain is connected to the heart and to the pancreas and to the digestive system. So then the question is, what do you do if it's all networked like that? You work holistically rather than reductionistically. You look at the whole system, and the whole system has one of the concepts in systems theory is their leverage points. Any system has bottlenecks and leverage points, and that's one of the pillars of systems theory. And the leverage points in the body are the digestive system and the metabolic system, and to a certain extent, what I call the adrenal thyroid complex. These are the 3 major leverage points in the system called the body. The heart is not a leverage point in the sense that you can't work on the heart by itself, but you can work on the digestive system by itself, and you can work on the metabolic system, but you can't work on the heart, or the brain, or the skin independently. But the leverage points allow you to do all that, and that's the main point. That's the story that we want to tell, is that there are leverage points that we can work with that will allow us on our own, without intervention, without waiting in line at the pharmacy, without insurance companies, without having to say, you take my organ out, I don't know what the heck to do. And that's why we're here every day, and why I'm here every week, is to explain and teach, to talk to people about how you can access your body through the leverage points on your own. And I think that's one of the most powerful messages anybody could ever tell, or stories anybody could ever tell.
I agree, and I appreciate you being here. And it's the second thing that I wanted to talk about, because I was actually on the phone this morning with a client. We were talking about allergy testing. How ironic.
Okay.
But this is with a child.
This is with a child?
7 years old.
Okay. So
yes.
So they want to go to have allergy testing done.
Well, she's had episodes in the past where
allergies.
It needed an EpiPen. So there was
What kind of
shrimp and then
what kind of
sesame seed.
what kind of allergies? Like what happened? They couldn't breathe. They ate a food they couldn't breathe.
Food allergies where she broke out and everything started swelling up and she couldn't
Okay.
breathe. They had to
Okay.
take her to
So
the
what's the
hospital.
point of an allergy test? They know they know there's certain foods that you can't eat. So now they're going to go somewhere else to have it confirmed.
But it's crazy because she was able to eat eggs and loved eggs, and then all of a sudden,
Sometimes that happens.
not even
Sometimes
having eggs in
well,
baked goods.
first of all, just because the symptoms of an allergy occur doesn't necessarily mean it's an alert, it's a true allergy. It could be histamine, as we've talked about before. Histamine comes out of a lot of places, but one of the places it comes out is the gut, the intestine. And so I don't know why this person would have an allergy test done, because you just told me they have allergies. So they know. So what's the point of an allergy test?
Well, schools, and they want to make sure that she's not getting them as snacks.
No, but they know she's allergic, right? They know that she ate whatever she ate and she broke out. So why would you go have a test? She's the test.
Well, because the school wants
some kind of validation.
Documentation.
Okay, documentation. Okay, I get it. But so that, and I understand that. But other than that, do you see how we eat a food, we break out, but then we'll have an allergy test? And I'm not trying to make anybody wrong here. I'm just saying it's an interesting idea that we don't trust ourselves. We don't believe we have the know-how. And that's why I say it's mental. You got to believe that you can do this. We can all do this. We can do this ourselves. And that's why I think the most important thing that we do on these programs is not nutrition, it's not health, it's empowerment. We want to give people their power back. Right now, the power is being taken away from us, and it's being put in the hands of the government. It's being put in the hands of the doctors. It's being put in the hands of institutions, and it's always the institution against the individual. Historically, institutions are there for themselves. They're not there for the individual. The assistance they give the individual is ancillary. It's a side effect. The institution is not there for the individual. It's there to perpetuate itself. And that's why you have, we have the American Heart Association. And ever since the American Heart Association happened, heart disease has gone through the roof, right? So we have these institutions that are supposed to be able to help us, but they're not there to help us. They're there for themselves. The word institution comes from the Latin root stit. Stit means static, stays the same. An institution stays the same. It doesn't die. Institutions don't get cancer. Institutions don't have children. Institutions don't bleed red. They bleed green. We have cancer. We have children. We have bills. We have a life. Individuals have different interests than institutions. And if you're expecting an institution to take care of you as an individual, you're barking up the wrong tree. It ain't going to work. And the worst of in my opinion, the most egregious offenders of the institutions is the medical institution, the institution of medicine. And while they certainly have done miracles with antibiotics and with surgical procedures, and they can stitch things back on that are mind-blowing, and they do face transplants, and you hear that lady whose the monkey ripped off her face and she had a face transplant. I mean, they do incredible things, heroic things, and they deserve credit for that. But it's crafts work. It's not metabolic. They're wonderful with crafting, as technicians, as artists, but it's not metabolic. Metabolism is ours. We own metabolism, not the institution. Metabolism is an organismic phenomena. The artistry of surgery, and it is an art, it's an amazing art, and the technology of surgical procedures, that is theirs, and they're wonderful. You're not going to do surgery on yourself, but you can change your metabolism on yourself with something as simple as breathing, something as simple as drinking water, something as simple as using your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. And that, to me, is the most powerful message we can tell, especially if somebody's dealing with a health challenge. I've been talking, I know I said this before, but I've been talking to a guy with Parkinson's disease now for a couple of years, and he's a new man. And I didn't do any drugs. I didn't tell him I just told him to breathe. I told him to use I-26. I told him to start taking some supplements, and nothing, just simple stuff. But we had to believe. Okay, that's my soapbox.
That's it. We have to believe, and we have to realize that even simple stuff can make a huge difference.
Yes.
So Since we're on the topic of allergies, Renee is wanting to know if I'm allergic to sulfa antibiotics, then do I need to worry about eggs because they are sulfur?
No, that's a very good question, and it's a very common question. Sulfa is not sulfur. Chemistry, every syllable, every letter counts. So sulfa sounds like sulfur, but sulfa is a class of antibiotics, which many people have problems with. Sulfur is an element on the periodic table, and a very, very important element. Sulfur is fiery. Sulfur used to be called brimstone. You ever hear like fire and brimstone? That's sulfur. Sulfur is a very fiery, explosive element. And consequently, it has tremendous value in the body. In fact, arguably, it's, I hate to say it, the most important, but there's a case that can be made that it's the most important mineral in the body because it gets transferred into an electronic carrier called sulfate. And sulfate delivers tremendous amounts of electronic energy to molecules. Specifically, it delivers energy that will allow certain fatty molecules to travel through the blood very effectively. So sulfate is incredibly important. It's produced at least partially by the sun, and it comes from sulfur, which, even though it's in the soil, as it turns out, many people are deficient in because of soil deficiencies and soil depletion. So sulfur is non-negotiable. It's not an optional, not an option, a non-optional element. Now we get sulfur from meat, and most people are meat eaters, you get sulfur from eggs and from high protein foods. But taking nutritional sulfur is highly advisable in the form of MSM. MSM is nutritional sulfur, and the interesting thing about MSM is completely non-toxic.
Wonderful. Now, just to continue, she said she's done a lot of food minimizing, but there's still something that is flaring.
What does food minimizing mean?
So she's eliminated a ton of food, Pharmacist Ben.
But she's still breaking out.
We've been working with her.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay. Has she fasted?
But she's wondering.
Has she fasted?
She has done a little bit of fasting.
When you're having a problem assessing what it is that's causing the issues, it may not be an allergy. It may be leaky gut and toxins coming in from bacteria. It could be SIBO. It could be a lot of things that look like they're allergic reactions if you're not familiar with what an allergic reaction is. That's why fasting is pretty much the best thing to do, because then when you start eating again, you'll notice things more clearly. So if you're having a problem, fasting's hard, admittedly, but if you're having a problem pinpointing specific issues, and you've done food minimizing or food elimination, I assume she means, fasting is really something you're going to want to do, as hard as it is, as difficult as it is, and even fasting for a couple days.
What about for those who, when they fast, their blood sugar dumps?
Well, yeah, that'll happen. That'll happen when you're fasting. If your body's under some kind of stress and you fast, you want to lay in bed. You want to relax. You want to chill. You don't want to put any stress on the body. So if you're trying to fast and do your day and you go about your errands and go to work, etc., that could be a bit of a problem, because you may run into issues with cortisol and with low blood sugar, etc. So fasting's not bad, but you don't want to put a lot of stress on the body while you're fasting. Now, some people don't have that issue, especially younger people. But as we get older and as the impact of degeneration kicks in, it may be a problem. So just chill, lay in bed, just do nothing. And you should that's if you still have a problem and you're laying in bed and you have high blood sugar, then you have a whole another health challenge that you got to deal with. But for most people, just don't do anything. Just relax, take the day off, which is not a bad thing.
There you go. Pharmacist Ben for president or something high in power, because we're going to get hot tubs and we're going to get days off for fasting.
Yes, exactly.
Fabulous.
I say that if we really cared about health, that's what we would do. We'd have national hot tub insurance, national massage insurance, national fasting insurance, national, days off. We don't care about health. It's not true. We care about the money that you can make from health, and that's why we have 25% of our budget goes to health. Can you imagine how much money we spend on health? Trillions with a T. not billions, trillions. With
And
it,
people complain about the cost of supplements.
and then people will complain about the cost of supplements. But here's the thing, and this is why, it's even worse. The situation is even worse in Europe and Canada and Australia, is the drugs are subsidized. Your insurance company pays for them. They have all kinds of deals that they make with the government to have the taxpayer foot the bill. And by the way, it's all taxpayers, me and you, everybody, even if you're not taking the drugs. So you get a biologic, that costs the government thousands of dollars a month, and you don't even notice it because your insurance company and it pays for it, and your tax dollars pay for it, et cetera. So anyway, it's not a good situation, but it's not an unresolvable situation. It's something we can address.
Okay. And just a quick little comment. Anne says that she had she got allergy tested when she was a kid, and it wasn't for food. She had hay fever, which now she knows was a histamine reaction. Thank you, Pharmacist Ben.
Yes.
And she had to get allergy shots for years, and surprise, they did nothing.
Well, you said something earlier, and I want to address that, about how the gal, all of a sudden, she didn't have allergies, and then she had allergies.
Yes,
and
the child.
And so this reminds me of this concept. Anne, was this Anne who you just talked to? Who just
no, this Anne
gal
is the one who had the allergy shots for years as a child.
So Anne just reminded me of something I want to tell you about the little girl. There's a concept in allergy in immunology called load, 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 immune load, and that's a straw that breaks the camel's back phenomenon. So your immune system can be thought of like a camel or a camel's back. And then you have mold, and that sits on the camel's back, and you're okay. Then maybe you'll have some kind of preservative in food, sits on the camel's back. And then all of a sudden you'll have milk, and boom, the camel's back will break. And it'll look like the milk, but really the milk you could have tolerated if you didn't have the mold and you didn't have the preservatives from the food. In other words, there's a certain amount you can tolerate. So with that gal, that kid, who knows? She may be piling on immune activators. Her immune system can handle everything until she does one more, and then that breaks the camel's back.
Oh, all right.
So
I will
that's
definitely be sharing
immune,
this with them.
Immune load. And by the way, anybody who wants to read about these kinds of ideas, there's a lady named Sherry Rogers, Dr. Sherry Rogers, and she's written a book called Tired Not Toxic, or Toxic Not Tired, Tired Not Toxic. Forget how she. I think it's Toxic Not Tired.
Toxic.
Yeah, and it's a great book, and she goes into all this stuff at length. It came out in the 90s, classic book.
Awesome. Well, we've got lots and lots of questions, and the next question is going to go to AJ, who has patiently been waiting. AJ, what question do you have for Pharmacist Ben?
Pharmacist Ben, always great to see you. I'm just a couple of thoughts, but I don't want to get in trouble. But you said earlier,
whatever you say that.
You're gonna get in trouble.
I'm preparing myself.
I don't want to get in trouble.
Don't be asking me any obnoxious questions here that trying to make me call out anybody.
Well, okay. Well, I'm calling you out. You said most people thought that blah, blah, blah until 400 years ago.
400 years ago. Yeah. 500 years ago.
But you had cultures 10,000 years ago mapping out the whole body.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there was something happened, if you really want to get into history, and I love history, but something happened around the early Middle Ages, I think it was. Not sure when it was, but a whole library was burnt in Alexandria, Egypt. Do you know about this? The burning of the library in Alexandria?
Of course.
Yeah. And so a lot of wisdom was lost. And they could have been lost intentionally. Nobody really knows the story behind that. But yes, many, many years ago, a lot of this stuff was mapped. Chinese medicine is amazing. They didn't have the same metaphors that we have, but we still use Chinese medicine effectively. Ayurvedic medicine, in India, there's
herbs when he was talking
herbs, absolutely. But a lot of wisdom was lost when the medical model came in. The medical model started off probably as a humanitarian effort, but it got codified and centralized when drugs became a thing in the middle of the 19th century. In the middle of the 19th century, I don't know, I don't want to get too much down a rabbit hole, but to address your point, in the middle of the 19th century, a miracle happened. We figured out how to make organic molecules. It was actually the late 18th century when they first did it. You know what the first organic molecule, by the way, was that they figured out how to make? An organic molecule is a molecule that's found in nature, found in the body. And they didn't know that you can make those things, actually make them in a factory, in a laboratory. No, not vitamin C. In a laboratory. That was that completely changed the whole landscape, because not only couldn't you now make things that they used to think were just nature that only God could do, they could actually make it in a lab. That revolutionized everything, but now you could sell them. And the profit margin was incredibly high. The first organic molecule to be synthesized was urea. And that was an entire revolutionized chemistry and revolutionized medicine. It was a short jump then into extracting the active ingredient from willow bark for pain. And gradually through the late 19th century, they started to figure out how to craft organic molecules. Until the early 19th century, they said, hey, we got a whole opportunity here to take these organic molecules, which at the end of the day come from oil. It's all fossil fuel derived. And we could turn the oil and we could turn the fossil fuels into these little tiny molecules that we can sell for a lot of money that will change. And not only that, but really in fairness, that could change biochemistry and change biology. This was an amazing, amazing idea. And, we talked about this before, how the turn of the 20th century was this crazy time when we thought we could do anything. Also, you had cars and electricity and organic molecules. And so the purveyors of these organic molecules said, let's all team together and centralize everything and control everything. And that was, the advent of the modern medical model. They kicked out people who didn't follow the rules, so to speak. And they had schools that were organized and to follow curricula. And it was a short jump from the curricula into corporations telling the schools what the curricula could teach. And at the end of the day, now we have. So but you're right. Your point is well taken. For thousands and thousands of years, there was no organic drugs. There were herbs, and there were foods, and there were modifications, that some of which were ridiculous, but others made a lot of sense. Ayurvedic medicine makes a lot of sense. But it's a real neat history to medicine, and I don't want to get into that digression now, but it's very cool.
I'll let our leader go back to helping some other folks.
All right. Thank you so much, AJ, as we got a little history lesson in there too, folks. Lots of information being shared that you can use as empowerment. So a little bit for everybody, even the history buff. So let's go to the next question. And Wendy wants to know, how do you know when to stop doing a liver detox? She says, I drink a detox tea at night and get cramps by 5 p.m. followed by a bowel.
Here's the problem with so-called detox. Okay, and I don't want to step on toes and I don't want to offend anybody here. That's not my goal, but I just want to be logical. What's the best detox? Not to put the toxin in the first place. Yeah, not to put the toxin. So that's the best detox. If you're trying to take a herb to detox with, what do you think happens to the herb? You have to detoxify it. So if you're taking burdock or dandelion root or whatever it is to detox, now you got to detox from the detox. So the best detox is going to be not eating. The next best detox is going to be sticking to things, chelating. Chelating is like a magnetic attraction. Things like zeolite, bentonite clay, and for some reason nobody talks about this, plant-derived minerals. Plant-derived minerals are one of nature's best detox, and you don't have to detoxify them like you do an herb. So, that's one thing we have to really be respecting when we talk about plant-derived minerals, is they're amazing for detoxification. We talk about dirty blood all the time. Plant-derived minerals clean the blood. Vitamin C is a detox molecule. Vitamin E is a detox molecule. Magnesium, copper are detox molecules. Zinc supports detox. There's so many ways to detox, but when you do an herb, and I know I always get heat from my herbalist friends, and I love herbs, and I've studied them, and I had a herbal pharmacy for many years, but they got to be regarded as medicines. Vitamin C is not a medicine, it's a nutrient. Herbs are not nutrients, they're medicines. And they're not like they're not as potent as drugs. They're much milder, but they have to be purified themselves. They're not innocent bystanders like vitamin C or zeolite or plant-derived minerals.
So, Pharmacist Ben, with what
I'd
you
have to
just
see.
said,
I'd have to see what she was taking. I'd have to see to answer that
okay,
gal's question. I have to see what she was taking.
okay, but herbs include nutrients.
Well, herbs have nutrients in them because plants have nutrients.
Yes.
Yes, herbs are plants. So don't even call them herbs, just call them plants, right? So plants are plants. They have all the nutrients that we have. Not all of them, but a lot of them that we have. Most of them that we have. So yeah, you're getting nutritional value. But when you're taking an herb, you're taking, if you taste like an herbal capsule, right?
It's
Imagine
usually
breaking,
the extract.
well, if you're taking the liquid extract, you don't know what you're getting. Okay, you don't know what's getting extracted. That's a little different. If you're getting an extract, like say you get a glycerin extract, that means you're going to get the stuff that comes out in glycerin, which is a certain spectrum of nutrients that are in the botanical, whatever it is. If you have an alcohol extract, that's going to be different. If you have a water extract, that's going to be different still. If you have a propylene glycol or a glycol extract, that's different still. So it just depends on the kind of extract, but you're not going to get everything. If you have an herb, you get everything. But if you have an herbal capsule, and you imagine just opening up the capsule, you get a tiny little bit of herb. There's not going to be a lot of nutrients in there. Yeah, you get some, you get trace amounts, but it's not like you're going to get nutritional value from that. A little bit. You know, it's like, think of an herb like a salad, right? Salad, you get a bunch of nutrients, right? Take a little piece of that lettuce. How much nutrient are you going to get out of that? Or a little piece of the spinach, or a little piece of the carrot, or whatever. That's what an herbal capsule would be.
Okay.
So if you eat a whole slew of herbs, then you're going to probably get some good nutritional value. But you know, you can't do that. Herbs, by the way, plants are not that easy to process for the digestive system. A lot of people can't digest plant material.
So with that being said,
so how do you know when to stop a liver detox? That's, I don't know. What's the liver detox? What's the person taking? I have to see.
So it is a tea. It does include senna. I can't remember all the rest of them, but we will actually.
Senna is a laxative. It's probably not a good idea to stay on a laxative for a long period of time. And it sounds to me, and that's a detox strategy. See, detoxification, remember we talked about phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 detoxification. There's different levels of detoxification. There's level 1 where the molecule's manipulated in your liver to make it, actually makes it more potent. There's another molecule, there's another phase 2 where the molecule is made easier to excrete. And then there's phase 3, which is the excretion, the elimination out of your body, bowel movement mostly. So senna is a laxative, and that can help, but you don't want to stay on laxatives for long periods of time.
I absolutely agree. Next question. So Bruce has a neighbor whose son is considering a kidney transplant. Says Dr. Wallach says diabetes type 1 is you're born with it. The neighbor was diagnosed at 4 years ago, and now he's taking the shots. He's in his 40s.
What's the question? Tell me the question. What's the question? And then tell me all the other stuff.
Could it have been a misdiagnosis?
Could type 1 diabetes or the kidney disease?
Type 1 diabetes.
Could it be a misdiagnosis? I mean, why would they ask that? I mean, diabetes is a brand name. It's not it's not really a disease, and it's not really a biochemical process. It's a name. It's a diagnosis. The biochemical process is dysglycemia. Dysglycemia refers to messed up blood sugar. It also involves insulin resistance. So insulin resistance and dysglycemia go hand in hand. They call that diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is what most people have. Type 1 diabetes is a different form of dysglycemia where the pancreas becomes the target of an immune attack. It's an autoimmune disease. Type 2 diabetes is a metabolic issue. Type 1 diabetes is an immune condition. Now, there's a lot of overlap. Remember, these distinctions are not clear cut. So you don't really want to worry about the distinction as much from a resolution standpoint. Type 1 diabetes, because your pancreas is being attacked, it doesn't make insulin. So they'll give you insulin. Type 2 diabetes, your body doesn't listen to insulin. Not that it doesn't make insulin, it doesn't listen to insulin. It gets used to insulin. So you can't really give insulin for type 2 diabetes until it reaches a certain point where it doesn't listen to insulin, where there's no insulin, just doesn't have any effect. Then you got to crank the insulin in the body. But here's the problem. Insulin is a very powerful substance. One of the most powerful, if not the most powerful. It's certainly one of the most powerful hormones in the body, arguably the most powerful. And it does many, 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 many things. And in fact, keeping your insulin low is the longevity strategy. That's why fasting is so important. You want to keep your insulin low, not high. If you get to a point where you have to inject insulin, that's the exact opposite. Now you're driving the system. Insulin drives things. It pushes things. It makes things grow. There are actually bodybuilders who are not diabetic who will inject themselves with insulin to grow muscle. It used to be farmers would give their animals insulin to make them bigger. So insulin drives chemistry. Our problem today with heart disease, with cancer, with cholesterol, with dysglycemia is we're driving our system. We're pushing the system. The body wants to stand down. It doesn't want to push. It wants to push for emergencies if it has to. Other than that, it wants to be calm. We've created a culture where our biochemistry is being pushed with hormones and with sugars and calories and food, all the different ways the chronic ingestion of foods. We're pushing the system. You want to live a long life? You want to have a nice, have a high quality of life via your health? Calm the F down. Chill. Relax. Insulin revs things up. Cancer and heart disease and diabetes are three main chronic degenerative diseases. All diseases of pushing, energy, of revving. Cholesterol, they want to shut your cholesterol down. Why does your cholesterol go up? Because cholesterol it's one of the ways the body builds things. So we're tricking the body into building things. We're sending the body all these signals that for millions of years were signals of growth. But we're not growing. We're not going to the gym. We're not exercising. We're not moving. We're not foraging. We're not hunting woolly mammoth and harpooning whales. We're sitting on our butts, but we're sending the body signals to grow. And that, in a nutshell, is really the problem. And that's why relaxation strategies are so important. Meditation and sleep and parasympathetic activation.
So the growth that's happening is not
It's not growth. It's stimulation. It's not growth.
Okay.
It's not growth. If it was growth, it'd be great. We'd all be big and strong and muscular, and we're not. All that energy that's supposed to be used for growth is in our guts, in our bellies, because it's not being used for energy. So it gets restored in the liver and in the abdomen
as fat.
As fat, as fatty liver, or as abdominal fat.
So, okay, so going back to the question, we've got a 40-year-old man who was diagnosed
what was the question?
4 years old.
Was it a misdiagnosis? Is that the question?
Wanting to know if it could have been a misdiagnosis that it was type 2 diabetes.
I don't. Type 1 diabetes.
Type 1, yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't, I don't know the answer to that. I can't tell you that, but I can tell you, work on your blood sugar and work on your insulin, whether or not it's type 1 or type 2.
Or none at all.
And by the way, they used to say type 1 diabetes is not reversible. It is. They used to tell you, oh, you're going to be stuck on insulin the rest of your life. Not true. The beta cells that make insulin can, when you have type 1 diabetes, they don't make insulin. They're the ones that are subject to the attack. Type 1 diabetes can be reversed.
All right. Thank you so much. And the next question, and then we'll go back to AJ. What is Ben's fantastic knowledge on Epstein-Barr?
Immune system. Epstein-Barr virus is a virus. Mm-hmm. Viral infections are opportunistic. Opportunistic viral infections occur when there's an opportunity. That's what opportunistic means. When the immune system is weakened. People who get Epstein-Barr virus are usually in the hospital, or they're under a lot of stress, or they have some other comorbidity. It doesn't just happen. So it happens to immune systems that are compromised. Shingles are the same thing. COVID was the same thing. Viral infections in general occur when there's an opportunity for them to occur. And so Epstein-Barr virus needs to be regarded as an immune system that is weakened. So you strengthen the immune system. Sugar is one of the main weakeners of the immune system. Excess calories can weaken the immune system. drugs can weaken the immune system. Load can weaken the immune system. There's load from other places. So strengthen the immune system. That's the key. Selenium is one of the best nutrients for strengthening the immune system, and selenium has antiviral properties. For people who get cold sores, for example, or shingles. Also, vitamin C is probably the most powerful of all the vitamins for the immune system. So work on immune system building is what you want to do by reducing load. That includes sugar and calories, and then also using nutrients that support and strengthen the immune system. That's my take on Epstein-Barr virus. Also, the sympathetic nervous system, remember, it's the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
The sympathetic nervous system shuts down the immune system. Why would that be? Why would the sympathetic nervous system suppress immunity?
So it's trying to protect the body.
Why would that be? Why would it be associated with the sympathetic nervous system? Because when the sympathetic nervous system is activated, evolutionarily speaking, you're running from a tiger, right?
Yeah.
When you're running from a tiger, does it matter if you catch a cold?
No.
Who cares if you catch a cold? You're running from a tiger. So all the reserves go into, all the energy reserves go into running and away from other things that are not necessary. The immune system is deactivated by stress. So are you under stress? Are we under stress? Of course, everybody's under stress, a lot of stress. And by the way, psychological stress is one kind of stress. There's physiologic stress too. Sugar is a physiologic stressor, and it will suppress the immune system. We talked last week about food, activates the sympathetic nervous system. That's an immune suppressant. Cortisol is is one of the main hormones of the sympathetic nervous system that shuts down the immune system. That's why when you have a rash, you put cortisol, hydrocortisone on your skin. It shuts down the immune system. So for Epstein-Barr virus, again, like we said before, calm the F down, chill, relax, use nutrients that support immunity, remove immune load, and breathe, activate the parasympathetic nervous system with things like muscle relaxation, warm water, gratitude, all the things we talk about. If you want to do one thing to stay healthy and live a long life, it's figure out everything you could do to activate the parasympathetic nervous system and have the sympathetic nervous system stand down. You do need a little sympathetic activity, by the way, because it gets your butt out of bed in the morning and gets you to do things. But for the most part, you want to be more parasympathetic, calm down, relax. The system under stress is a system that is not going to be able to withstand viruses and bacteria and mold and all the other things that it seems like are the causes of our problems. There's a distinction between real causes and proximal causes. Proximal cause is the cause that you think is the trigger that you think is the cause. That's the one you see, but there's a cause before. So it looks like it's the virus. That's the proximal cause, but the real cause is an immune system that is overloaded.
So start with a healthy body, brain, and heart pack, which has the ultimate selenium in it as well, and go from there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so folks, if you've got issues with your system not being quite right, and you've been told that you got this Epstein-Barr thing, get back with the person that shared this program with you and say, hey, get me on a healthy body, brain, and heart pack. Let's start there. And if you're not working with somebody, you've never tried any of the products that we're mentioning, you want to get connected with a certified holistic health coach, call 855-949-3377. If you would prefer to use email, you can always email info@dailywithdoc.com. All right, AJ.
Hey, I got a question in from Cheryl in Brooklyn. She's asking a question that we've asked before. Pharmacist Ben, what are the benefits to the donor for donating blood?
A lot of benefits. You make more blood, first of all, and you lower iron levels, and you help other you help other people, of course. But keeping blood, they used to bleed people for health. Iron is a pro-oxidant, and it can be associated with accelerated aging, not to mention tissue damage and even heart disease. And you're going to lose iron when you give blood. Many people are not able to process iron as effectively, and they have too much iron in the blood. hemochromatosis and such. And so you'll get rid of the iron, but you'll also get rid of anything else that's in the blood that's a problem, and your body will make more blood, make more fresh blood.
Will you be handing?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Obviously you will.
But someone else your problem.
Obviously, but they may not have the same problem that you do. But yes, anything in the blood will be in the blood. There are molecules in the blood called DAMPs, DAMPS. DAMPS stands for damage associated molecular patterns. And these damage associated molecular patterns are things that get into the blood through a leaky gut. They're the cause of dirty blood, what I always call dirty blood. I say it somewhat, facetiously or graphically, so you can imagine it's not really dirty blood, but it's blood that has contaminants in it from the intestine. Sepsis is a major blood problem. Sepsis is bacteria in the blood, microbes in the blood, and it's a serious problem. But there's also something that nobody ever talks about, except we talk about all the time, called non-microbial sepsis. Non-microbial sepsis is an inflammatory condition in the blood that is not related to organisms. It's related to damps and toxins from the intestine. So yes, to answer your question, those will obviously come out too. Yes, but they don't check for those.
Okay.
I don't think they do. And actually, I should say that. Maybe they do check. I don't know the answer to that. They should. I don't know if they do or not. So I don't want to say that, but they should.
Okay, you mentioned the word iron, and then what about someone who's iron deficient? What can
iron deficiency is oftentimes not really iron deficiency. Iron is tightly controlled. It's tightly regulated because it's so powerful and so oxidative. It's probably the most oxidative. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's one of the most oxidative minerals of all the elements. Fluoride's pretty oxidative. So the body controls iron because you need iron. Obviously, iron is how you get oxygen. Iron is an oxygen magnet. That's how we get oxygen. That's how oxygen is delivered, is through iron. A little piece of iron in hemoglobin attracts oxygen. That's how your blood stays oxygenated, and that's how our cells get oxygenated. So you need iron. So the body controls it. However, that control point is in the liver. We have 130, 140, 150 million Americans probably who have liver problems, fatty liver disease. And so a lot of people are not processing iron correctly. And that changes the iron levels. Either the iron's too high or too low. If you have an iron issue, more often than not, it's not the intake of iron, it's the processing of the iron. And that requires focusing on liver health. And the liver, of course, is part of the triangle of disease.
And the liver is being damaged by sugar and
fat, sugar, drugs, toxins in the air. The liver is the most phenomenal organ in the body. It does thousands of different things, hundreds. It stores amino acids and vitamins and glucose. It detoxifies. It makes bile. It makes hormones. It's just phenomenal structure. And if you have fatty liver disease, you're gonna have a world of hurt. And one of the places you're gonna have a problem is with, possibly anyways, with iron.
I'm sorry, Becca. So this question that was asked earlier about liver toxins,
about the detox.
The detox.
Yes.
So
that can put a stress on the liver, but it's certainly not like the stress like sugar. And fructose, by the way, is especially fruit sugar is especially problematic for the liver. And when I say fruit sugar, I'm not necessarily talking about just fruit, although that can be a problem because today's modern fruits have lots of fructose. The real problem is with isolated fructose, as in high fructose corn syrup, which is used now as the major sweetener in industrial foods because it's much cheaper than sugar. So high fructose corn syrup is a big problem. Fructose, as I said, it can be an issue because it's processed in the liver, and fatty liver is oftentimes a fructose issue as much as it's a glucose issue, if not even more. So fructose, you got to be really pay attention to. Not so much in fruits, although yes, somewhat in fruits, but especially in high fructose corn syrup and also fruit juices, smoothies, jamba juices. They're supposedly good for us.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, AJ.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. And let's finish it off with this one. Charmaine wants to know, when someone breaks out eating pineapple, is that because of histamine?
Probably, yes. probably. Pineapple is a, I'm not sure if it's a histamine containing food or a histamine trigger. It's one or the other. But yes, it could very well be, it more than likely is. A lot of foods that people are allergic to, citrus, pineapple, etc., are really not strict allergies to the food as much as their histamine responses, which, for all intents and purposes is similar. But you can take care of a histamine response with things like vitamin C, which is an antihistamine, and quercetin, and diamine oxidase, and also patching up a gut, not necessarily with a strict allergy.
Okay. Well, Pharmacist Ben, I want to make sure that we get you out of here on time. So we got 4 minutes to shut down so that you're not late for your next appointment. And
okay, do your thing.
Thank you so much. As we delivered a lot of information that is empowering for the individual, so you don't have to stand in line or create an appointment for. You get it right here on Daily with Doc and Becca, and Pharmacist Fridays with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs and other times, and also Pharmacist Ben Bites on Mondays, usually with Coach AJ, where you can get more information about that at rootnotfruit.com, and also the Triangle of Disease.com, folks.
Yes.
But don't forget dailywithdoc.com, which is the sponsor of today's program. And folks, get back with the person that shared this program with you because they cared enough about you. Be considerate and tell them thank you. If I could get our co-hosts up on the screen with me, that would be absolutely fantastic, because I'm so thankful that I do not have to do this with just myself and Pharmacist Ben. There's a lot of working pieces, and each of these individuals are covering a couple of them. So I wanted to say thank you, Marilyn, as we lovingly call her Speedy Fingers, as she's doing a lot of dictation and putting information into the chat that's only available if you are here live with us in Zoom. You can register by going to zoom.dailywithdoc.com and make sure that you are logged into your Zoom account in order to register and be admitted into the Zoom. So thank you, Marilyn. We have Albert, who's joining us from South Africa, and he is our gatekeeper. So thank you so much, Albert. And if you're calling in the middle of the night in the United States and you hear this amazing accent, that's probably Albert. And then we have Phyllis, one of the pioneers in spreading this message. Thank you so much, Phyllis, as she's putting more information into the chat as well, plus keeping an eye on the different platforms and bringing those questions in. And we have our executive producer, which is Ruth Ellen. She's laughing at me.
And don't mess with Ruth Ellen.
You don't mess with Ruth Ellen.
You don't mess with Ruth Ellen. Executive production manager.
That's it. That's right. I'm the producer. Oh my goodness.
You are the queen producer.
So this is stress. I need Ben as president so that I have more
insurance, national hot tub insurance.
That's it. And I want a saltwater tub, please. But yes, and Ruth Ellen will come and use it too. So double duty there. But thank you so much, Ruth Ellen, for all that you do. And last but not least, we have AJ, who is our digital marketing manager and helping us to get on all the different platforms and making sure everything is rolling the way it's supposed to roll. So thank you, everybody, for joining us, being part of the team, and Pharmacist Ben being one of the leaders of our team. And if you want to be part of a team and you just have a heart for others, reach out to the person that shared this program with you or call us at 855-949-3377. Again, that's 855-949-3377. Be part of a solution when it comes to empowering others. Pharmacist Ben, closing remarks? I can't hear you.
We can all do this. We can do this ourselves.
Yes, we can.
There's no health
Awesome.
challenge that's not reversible. there's no chronic degenerative health challenge that's not reversible. By nature, the body can heal itself, but it needs the raw materials to do its work. We can help you understand that.
Yes, thank you so much. And
Thank
folks,
you.
if you want more information and you think that you need to be a certified something or another, we do have a certified holistic health coach course that you can get more information on. Very informational. And it goes over the 4 areas of health. It goes over Dr. Wallach's teachings, how it applies to each and every one of us from way back in the early days to even now. You can get more information about that at coach.dailywithdoc.com. So until next time, thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend. And AJ, do we have Pharmacist Ben Bites on Monday? You know what, folks, go to dailywithdoc.com. Make sure that you're registered for our email list so that you get notifications of when stuff is happening.
That's correct.
Awesome. All right. Thank you again, everybody, for being here live with us or out on the different platforms. Please make sure that you subscribe, comment, let us know what you liked best and where you're joining us from. So until next time, bye for now. This program is for educational purposes only. The content is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases, nor is it intended to take the place of your primary care physician. The statements in this program have not been evaluated by the FDA. Testimonials are shared as individual experiences of the individual. Results vary and may not be typical. We do not make any claims regarding health or income. As an empowered individual, you do have options available. We are honored to continue to share the teachings of a founding father of the science of epigenetics, Dr. Joel Wallach, Bachelor of Science in Plant and Soil Sciences, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, 4 postdoctorates in Pathology, Naturopathic Doctor.